This is Let's Talk Business with your hosts, Marc Ebinger and Howie Nestel. Now, here's Mark.
Welcome to Let's Talk Business, a show that highlights and promotes entrepreneurs to learn more about their vision, goals, and marketing strategy. Coming up on the show today, we're going to talk with some home water treatment companies about their approach to sales and education. In studio with us today is Richard Garcia, an expert at water treatment and the owner of Superior Water Softeners. Richard, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate being here.
Yeah, it's your first time. Is this your first podcast? That
Very first podcast, yes, sir.
All right, cool. Well, we'll have a lot of fun with that. Also in studio with us today is Ty Washington, the owner of The Waterman, a full-service water softener and filtration company here in the San Antonio area. Ty, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, sir. Glad to be here.
Yeah, you both are looking sharp. You're
Thank
all
you.
branded up. And
Thank you.
Got a suit on. I feel underdressed. I don't know.
Yeah, at least I wore a long sleeve shirt.
I'm your host, Marc Ebinger, the owner of Kruka's Virtual Staffing, a company that specializes in hiring virtual assistants from outside the United States.
And I'm Howie Nestel. I own an advertising agency called Sharkmatic Advertising. I've been in business now for more than 3 decades. So I have one foot in the old school of marketing before the World Wide Web was invented. And now a good portion of what we've done in 30 years for 1,500 clients involves a lot of digital marketing.
Yeah, that's the new wave, right? So when did the internet officially, when did you switch over to digital?
You know, I was in business in the late 80s, and in the 90s, there was internet, but not really the World Wide Web as we know it.
Yeah.
And I was a latecomer to it. I actually had clients that would come and beg me to help them with their website. And I said, I'm more of a marketing purist. I went to UT Business School. I'm not going to get involved with that fad. And it wasn't until I started to see that everybody and their mother was building websites, so I hired one part-timer. And I said, and don't think that's all you're going to do, because we're going to do radio and we're going to do TV. And now here we are 1,100 websites later.
Wow. That's amazing,
It's
man.
the internet, whether or not you get a lot of word-of-mouth referral, which is great for a lot of businesses, the epicenter of where business gets done is on the World Wide Web. People go and look at your backgrounds and go connect with you on social. And that
People
kind of
do
stuff.
their due diligence, right? Which is checking you out on social media to find out, are you relevant in your space or not? So you guys pay attention to your social media quite a bit?
Oh, yeah.
You do? Yeah.
I do. I have a team that kind of helps me to manage that process so that I'm relevant. 'Cause I don't have the time, of course, to spend like I want to. So I have somebody who kind of manages that piece for me.
Yeah, it's not a good use of your time to be spending doing posts and tagging and all of the things. What about you, Richard? What are you doing with yours?
I actually am personally involved because I figured out a long time ago that I know my brand better than anybody else's. And so I actually market Richard Garcia, and I brand it to my company, Superior Water Softeners. And then here or there, I let some of it go, but for the most part, I tee up everything.
There's no right or wrong answer.
No,
because
right.
there's if you want it done right, you do it yourself mentality. But then there's the other mentality, because I see the power of, for example, Marc's business of leveraging assistants in the Philippines to help do stuff, because I give them instructions. There's a little bit of training for some of my personal stuff, and next thing you know, it's done, and I don't have to get involved with it. So they're probably somewhere in between is nice. Delegate it, but don't abdicate it. Don't just give it away and not follow up with it. So somewhere in between.
Yeah,
I would like to get to that point where I can have that trust factor a lot more than where I'm at right now. But I'm at the point now where I'm just now getting the traction for my business from all the work I've done over the years. And it's kind of difficult for me to let it go right now because I'm seeing huge gains right now from what I've been doing.
And trust is a super important word, and we talk about it in networking all the time, right? The motto is get to know, like, and trust somebody before you can do business with them. And that's important, especially for entrepreneurs who are not spending OPM, other people's money, right? We're spending our own money.
Right.
And
Yes.
so we want to know that we could trust them, because so many vendors, I would say, have let us down, right? We all have a little gray hair. We've been in business for a long time, so we know better.
One of the best feelings in the world for me is, I've put a lot of time into my virtual assistant folks, and two of them have been with me for over a year, right? But developing that trust and honing in on, hey, this is the way Marc wants things done, is tremendous. Because when I get down, when I was out sick, my machine went just fine without me, other than being here in the podcast, because that's me. But everything else ran smooth. So getting to that point where my business isn't solely relying on myself, and it still can be consistent. Plus, I'm a bit of the entrepreneur that I get bored. You know what I mean? It's like, I'll do social media, but I'm not going to do it 3 days a week, 5 days a week, twice a day, hit stories and reels and tagging and all that. That just wears me out, right? So it's like understanding that there's fatigue there that I want to avoid by getting people in the right place and then bringing those up. And then they're good at their job, and I feel like I trained them and they know what I want. That's a really good feeling for me in building out my business. Different approach, but one that I've enjoyed very much.
Yeah, I'm interested too, Mark, in kind of understanding that world that you've opened up with your support now, and how what that looks like because I may be interested in employing something like that into what I'm doing to leverage some of my people's time.
Yeah, well, Mark will talk about it, but, I've heard friends that have VAs through Mark that have the virtual assistants helping with setting appointments, follow-ups, getting questionnaires out, posting on social media, organizing files. So it's almost tailor designed for what your needs are.
Yeah, $7 an hour goes a long way, too. I used to joke that if you can't make $7 an hour into $15 an hour, you should look at your business model, which is a bit crass. But, having that leverage of being able to hire and fire as you need to and having a great employee that's very, very skilled in their area, it's revolutionary, man. And when you can leverage $7 an hour and just keep going, that's awesome. I at one point had like 27 employees, you know what I mean? I've had to scale back and as I pivot around. But like our event that's coming up, I've leveraged like 99% of that big event that's coming up.
Yeah.
I hope you guys are going to be there. It's on Thursday.
Yeah, I think they sent us something on that. I think we asked for it. Yeah.
Awesome.
I just gotta.
You see, if you had a VA, you would have already had your ticket and everything.
Yeah, right.
Well, let's get into one of my favorite topics. You guys don't know this about me, but water is actually something that I am passionate about because I like my long hot showers, and people don't realize that that is steam, hot steam you're going out. And if there's a whole bunch of chlorine and a whole bunch of nastiness in there, you're just breathing that in. So, it's beyond just being able to have decent water come out of your tap that you can drink and so forth. It's way bigger than that. And I didn't realize how bad things were in San Antonio until I've had a few conversations with folks in the past. And so I'm really excited to learn about what you guys are doing. So, Richard, we're going to start with you. Let's give me a little bit about your background and what led you into the water treatment business.
I would say the biggest part of what has made me successful was my military background. At 17, I took my first order from Vice Admiral Callahan, Admiral of the United States Navy. I was in the top secret world, and he stunned me, gave me a direct order. That helped me be able to communicate with people at a much higher level. Fast forward, I had bought our first home back in 2003, and I was working for Time Warner Cable at that time, doing door-to-door sales, and we needed a water softener. Somebody came to our house trying to sell us a $7,000 to $8,000 water softener, and I kicked them out. I said, there's nothing in the world that's worth $8,000 on water treatment. No way. I went to go look for a water softener, went to one of the big companies in town. I don't use any names. So I went to one of the big companies in town. They did an interview on me, kind of question and answer. Before I knew it, I went from door-to-door sales, selling cable TV, to selling water softeners. My claim to fame, or my favorite statement, is I can sell ice to an Eskimo. I can sell anything. However, I can't sell it once I realize the product is bad. And when I realized that I was selling a bad product, then I switched companies. Went to another one. Same problems, different name. Went to another one. Same problem, different names. I then decided that I could create a better widget because I cared more about the water. So I set up my company just like with the kind of equipment that they were selling. Guess what? I had the same problems. My systems were breaking down. I was finding filth in water softeners. I couldn't understand it. I almost got out of the industry. I mean, I just felt that I could not sell something that was so filthy because I just couldn't do that. I'm selling somebody a system to clean their water when inside of the water softener, the system was filthier than dirt on the street. I mean, it just really was. So I went in search of and found a guy at a Water Quality Association trade show, PhD in water, brought him pictures, brought him videos, and he helped me understand what I was confronting within the water softener environments that I was in. He gave me a recipe. He said, these are 4 things that you have to do in order to not have the problems that you're finding in the systems out there. So he said, basically, you do these 4 things, and I won't go into all that. It's a long story. You do these 4 things, and you will be able to have the best system on the market. This is 2008, 2009. That's where I came up with this product right here, which is a sanitizing product for water softeners. What most folks don't realize is that a little bit of everything that goes into the water stays in the water filtration system. It festers over a period of time and creates a biofilm that really just grosses the inside of the water softener. It just turns it to filth. So once I applied this application, the 4-rule recipe that he gave me, my systems seem to have gotten over that hurdle of breaking down. I've had people tell me I bought 4 systems in 20 years. Why should I buy one from you? What makes you different? Well, nothing made me different until I came up with a mentality or philosophy of clean water. So I call myself the clean water expert now.
So does the system matter as much as the sanitizing solution? Or are they both required, or what's the deal there?
I tell folks, if you're not sanitizing your water softener correctly, there's no sense in buying anybody's water softener. You might as well go to the store and buy one. You're going to hear it from me, and nobody else will say it. If you're not sanitizing your water softener correctly, the inside of it will turn to filth. There's a biofilm that's naturally in the water from the dawn of time. Water softeners capture it, and water softeners grow it because water softeners inhibit dirt from ever escaping from the vessel. You can never get rid of it unless you have the right technology. So in dirt, microorganisms live. Once they get into any dirt, chlorine gas, chloramine gas, which the cities use to make our water potable, can never penetrate the shell of any turbidity.
But let me back up just a little bit, just to bring clarity to this. Can anybody with any water softener overcome this challenge of this? I guess the
absolutely not.
So the equipment does matter just as much as
the sanitizing portion has to be a key factor. There has to be an action plan in effect from the time you fire up a water softener. Immediately from the time you let any water into your water softener, the biofilm is a stickum and sticks to everything and multiplies on itself and then eventually rots from underneath.
How does somebody know if they have this problem?
Everybody, I mean, most companies will tell you when you have this very slickish feeling on you, because I get asked all the time in the beginning I've been in the industry for 23 years. I feel this extra slippery feeling, like a slimy feeling we can never get off of ourselves. Well, I was trained by the companies that I work for to say that's soft water. Well, fast forward to me finding the PhDs that I talk to in water, comes to find out that really is a low-grade bacteria that grows in water softeners. It's not going to kill you, but it's just something that bonds on itself, and eventually, I have pictures on my website, eventually turns into a orangish type color to a dark brown color to a black color that secretes out of the valve head and every orifice, even bonds itself as in an algae form inside of your water softener. Again, I have pictures on my website. It literally creates a biofilm gel or film that sticks to everything.
Howie, do you know what he's talking about? Have you felt what he's talking about?
Well, I don't know necessarily that I feel it as a sliminess, but I do feel it like like there's something, like sometimes I feel like I still have some soap on me.
Right.
But that's probably...
That's not soap.
That's not soap.
That is, with the solution that I found a manufacturer out of Texas that had a product that advertised to take care of the issues that I'm addressing or talking about. I tested it out on just a certain segment of my customers, and immediately that feeling, that extra slippery feeling, went away. They didn't get a chalky feeling or chalky skin. The hard water spots were gone. Everything was the way it should be, but that slickish feeling went away. Over the years, I used to do I pulled out just about every water softener from every company. I've been doing this, again, for 23 years. I would literally dissect. I called it the water softener autopsies of everything that I would pull out. And I would take pictures, videos. I would literally saw open valve heads and look for flow rates, because the only way that you can clean a water softener correctly, a couple of the parts are, you have to have an aggressive backwash. Most water softeners backwash at 0.5 gallons of water per minute. In order to flush dirt out of the bottom of a water softener, you got to be backwashing at a minimum of 3.5 gallons of water per minute. You can't do that on 1950s technology. 98% of the industry today sells 1950s technology. Mm-hmm. If you're not buying a higher quality system, you might as well go buy one from the store.
So let's say you have a higher quality system, mm-hmm. and you buy Richard Garcia's secret solution. Are there directions there on how I use it, and then will it improve my position, or does this, like you said, have to be started right when you first fire it up? If not, there's no value in putting it in.
No, well, there will always be value. What I say is, if a colony, and I posted something today, this morning early, about a little manual. I call it my Bible, that talks about biofilm colonization in water softeners, which is one of the reasons that you have to sanitize your water softener. Immediately from the time you turn on your water, the biofilm that's already coming from lakes, rivers, and streams will filter in to your water softener. It will start sticking immediately to the inside, immediately. Now, it's the optimal position that a homeowner that's investing money in a water softener should have is to start sanitizing immediately. There's a lot of sanitizers out there. Tons of companies use it, but most of them are very chemically enhanced, which end up burning the resin, burning the carbon, damaging the structure matrix of the medias inside, and you have more added maintenance costs down the road. The solution that we use is Baby Gentle. Remember the old Johnson's Baby shampoo commercial? Our product is very gentle on the medias, and it goes in and it sizzles the film every 14 to 10 days off of every component, whether it's the valve head, the tank, or the medias, and establishes a near zero clean water softener again so that it can go back into service after the regeneration period. Another thing is that putting carbon in a side-by-side system, in other words, you put carbon ahead of your water softener, that's a big no-no in my book. That's my personal opinion. Okay, I have a lot of personal opinions. Anything I say here today is a personal opinion. The reason that it's a big no-no is because carbon immediately, from the time it's created with air and water, starts collecting bacteria. So if your carbon system is sitting standalone from your resin system or your main mineral tank, what ends up happening is you're not able to disinfect your carbon. It's collecting contaminants left and right. I carry another Bible from the EPA that talks about biofilm in the water distribution system. Every time you turn on your water, if the carbon eventually gets exhausted to the point where it can't collect any more contaminants and suck them in, the contaminants get stuck on the outside of that carbon. And then more bacteria or film grows on those tags. I call them tags, TAPO tags. And so every time you turn on your water, the shake of the water as you turn on your water vibrates that carbon, and those TAPO tags, which are called biofilm tags to me, that's my opinion again, release and go into your home. You're cooking with it, you're drinking with it, you're bathing with it. The problem with this is if you look up biofilm on the internet now, you're going to find out that biofilm is believed to be 70% the cause of our physical ailments today, all the way down to the inability of our skin to regenerate correctly. Okay, as we get older, or wounded warriors, stuff like that. Biofilm is a bacteria. So if it's sticking to your body, you have a bacteria fighting you trying to heal. That is my opinion again. I'm not a doctor, but I have read.
Yeah, but it makes sense, I'm sure I have a Band-Aid here because this thing hasn't healed since last Friday and I got cuts, you know what I mean? And then but I didn't make that connection. I'm not thinking about that.
How does somebody know if they have a problem? I mean, how is the layperson going to understand if they got a problem without jumping from I don't know if I have a problem to I must have a problem because I don't have the right system?
If you own a water softener and you're not sanitizing, you got a problem.
How often should you be sanitizing?
Every regeneration. This solution sits inside of a canister in a salt tank, and it drips 1 milliliter of the solution. It's concentrated per 10 to 14 days. Every time the system regenerates, my systems have stacked carbon. So a lot of companies put a little bitty bag of carbon inside of the mineral tank and say they have a 3-in-1 system. I mean, there's a company out there that advertises and goes on all the morning shows and says, I have a 3-in-1 system. I used to sell that system. I know it inside and out, like the back of my hand. It's not all that.
So you have to be running some kind
you
of
have to be running
some,
and there's a lot of them. You just have to be careful on what you're allowing somebody to sell you to put into that system. But here's the thing. If you put carbon inside of a resin tank and it's in the same chamber as your resin, that is a no-no. Because then if you're not sanitizing, you got to change your carbon out at least once a year. Okay, you have to. So in our systems, I use a dual chamber system. So it has 2 chambers. You have a bottom chamber for the resin, you have a mid plate, and then you have a second chamber on top where the carbon sits on top of your resin. It never commingles. And so every time the system regenerates, I'm sanitizing the carbon to minimize bacteria growth and biofilm growth on the carbon, the resin, the tank, and the valve head.
All right.
Okay, so this drops in when you say the mineral tank, like the salt tank?
Yeah, in the salt tank.
So
it's in a
just,
canister.
okay, so it drops in there, and it's like timed or whatever, some kind of release?
Gravity fed.
Gravity fed.
Right.
Oh, great.
I probably have, I've been doing this since 2007. I introduced this product in the testing phase at about 2008, maybe going into 2009. By 2010, it was my number 1 product that I was putting out there. I clean water. I don't sell water softeners. Mm-hmm. I just happen to use the best technology that there is around to filter water, and then I make sure I clean the systems on a regular basis. I probably have 1,600 customers on this solution, and they all love it.
How often do you buy that?
I just ordered 4 more cases.
Well, does a homeowner going to go through one of those a month or one of those a year? What is
2 a year.
2 a year. Okay.
And we set everybody up on an annual service call. So we're proactively, and not only do we go and show up and service the equipment, but we wipe down the equipment. We clean around the water softener. The salt tank is not a sealed component. We get into a dust storm, or the homeowner's blowing the leaves around with the garage door open and he's blowing dust all over the system. The systems get dirty. You're setting yourself for failure because now the dirt is going to get inside of the salt tank. It's going to suck that dirt into the system.
So you service the water heaters or the water softeners as well?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. All right, Richard, we covered a lot of ground. If folks want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
You look us up on the website, send us a form contact, or they can call us at 210-792-0962.
And what's your website address?
swsofteners.com.
Okay, cool. I like it. Simple.
Yeah.
All right, great job, Richard.
Thank you.
You wouldn't know that was your first podcast. But,
right.
Thank you. Great job. All right, next up on the show is Ty Washington, the owner of The Waterman, a full-service water softener and filtration company here in the San Antonio area. So, Ty, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. So tell me a little bit about your background, how you ended up in the water business.
So my story is very interesting, man. I am originally from Detroit, Michigan, born and raised. Go Lions.
Yeah.
I just watched a thing on Barry Sanders. That whole thing. That was a good
Yeah,
documentary.
man, he was amazing when he did play, and he just exited just crazy, just left. Something real crazy. But originally from Detroit, Michigan, man, the industry that I was in prior to when I lived in Michigan, I came from the mortgage banking space. I worked for a company you guys may have heard of called Countrywide Home Loans.
Oh, yes, I'm familiar with them. Mm-hmm. And then Bank of America bought them or something, right? Or
Yeah, so I always think when I tell people when they think about Countrywide during the 08 crash or the mortgage meltdown, they were the leaders in that folly. Mm-hmm. So during that time, I was a sales trainer for Countrywide Home Loans in the Detroit area. I was the top producing loan officer and trainer there, so which was good. So I've always been in the, I like to say the people business. We do whatever we do, but we're really in the people business. Then being in the mortgage business, being able to train and still help people, to ultimately move here to the Texas area and knowing nothing about a water softener. My first experience before I technically moved here, my wife, her job, she was here working or whatever, and I would hear her talk about how bad the water is even before I had physically been here to experience that. So, of course, shortly after moving here, not really thinking about the water, but, how am I going to work, how I'm going to eat? I didn't want to get back into the mortgage banking business because I really had a bad, that last 08 was really nasty. Lost a lot, man, but God has blessed us. Anyway, moved here and first got off and I got here was to go and get a job back in the mortgage banking space because that's what I knew, but I didn't want to do that. My brother-in-law at the time, he was selling home security, door-to-door sales. And he said, man, maybe you want to come out and check this out and see if you like that or whatever. Long story short, I did door-to-door sales selling alarms. And then finally one day, I saw that he was not only selling security, but he was selling water softeners by the way. That was his, by the way. So I created a whole by the way program from that. But anyway, fast forward, I really became more intrigued about the water than I was security. So I became a student and went the internet, tried to learn everything I could from YouTube, and finally worked for a plumbing company first here who knew nothing about water softeners. It's unbelievable. So people who, I won't call their names like Richard, don't call any names. Right. They knew nothing. They would basically say, go sell, all the water softeners you want with zero training. So we did, and lucked up. People, they know that they need them. And if you say the right words or whatever, they let you in and they buy. Well, anyway, I wanted to go deeper and find out more. So I went in, took the class with the WQA to get my certification or license and all that stuff. Then I ended up working for a water softener manufacturing company where I wasn't selling water softeners per se to homeowners, but we were working to sell water softeners to plumbing companies. So a lot of plumbing companies around town that were using our product, we offered them training or, how to sell a water softener.
Yeah, so when they have a tie working for them, they're not just sending them out selling.
So you kind of give them some education behind, what's going on. We offer the product and then the training behind how to use and sell our product, which that worked out for a while. And then the guy that I was working with then at that time, we decided to go into business and we started a company together that ended up not working well. We didn't stay together long for different business models, I guess. And I went out on my own and I started a company. So I was just a sales company. And that's when the tie the water guy whole little thing started. The networking and, door to door. So I was doing everything I could to get business. I met my business partner, who had been at that point, he was in the water business, I think probably like 30 years at that point. And he was actually one of my installers. I hired him to install for me because that's what his main claim to fame was, because he'd worked for all the major companies, Connecticos, the Rain Soft, Hey Culligan Man. He worked for all those guys. So because I wanted to do more, be more to a customer than just a sale, because there's so much aftercare, like Richard talked about, the servicing, the filter changes, and that I didn't have the capacity to do that because I just wanted to go and sell and educate. Well, my business partner, Fred Winiger, I called him my Moses of water at this time, because this guy knew, about water softeners. He knew all of our competition, how their systems worked and all of that. So I said, look, man, I think we should come together. I'll go out, sales, market, and, train and do all that stuff. And you just handle the installs and the service and all that. So we ended up combining our efforts. Thus, the Waterman was born. So we've been blessed now to be working together. Probably, I think this is going in our 8th, 9th year together as the Waterman. And, man, we started with 1 truck and my car. And, now we have 5 trucks and 13 employees.
That's fantastic.
So it's been a blessing.
And so did you learn something between the first failed business partnership and then the second more successful
Yes.
partnership? Because one of my Howieisms that Mark maybe has heard or hasn't heard is that I happen to think in many cases the only ship that's guaranteed not to sail is a partnership.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't mind profit participation, but the minute you sign on the dotted line and now you're partners, you're almost doomed to fail. Not always.
Yeah. So Howie, you can appreciate this, man. I'm a believer, right? So the Bible talks about being unequally yoked, right? Where my motivation with my business partner before Fred, he was really, money driven and trying to sell a water softener for the highest price we possibly could. And I wasn't into.
He probably tried to sell Richard one for $8,000.
Yeah, maybe that was the same guy. But it was like, man, they don't cost that much. We shouldn't. No, I don't want to play in those waters. So that's why I kind of went on my own. Say I create my own world. But the thing that me and Fred shared in common, man, our belief system of wanting to just give, a great product and even greater service. That was really the thing that brought us together. It wasn't about money, because we, later we talk about it. The money is a byproduct of what we do. That's not what we do. We're in the people business by way of water treatment. So it was really about wanting to service the customer, and if we do a good job, we can probably make some money. That was probably more of how we.
That's the long way around, but I would argue it's the best way around.
Yeah.
Because I know, and I've dealt with so many people that look for the shortcut, try to make the fast buck. They get a bad reputation. They don't last in business a long time because people talk negatively about them. But yet, if you talk to somebody, said, yeah, hey, thanks for that referral. he came out and said, I didn't really need it. There was a couple of tweaks or whatever. Like, wow, who does that these days, right? And again, there's certain industries like auto mechanics where, the call comes in and they have your car and you're like, oh, okay, it's either going to be 300 or 3,000 and I'm not going to know the difference.
Yeah.
But then somebody goes, hey, by the way, it was just a fuse. So we took care of it. Your car's ready. You're like, wow, back to the trust thing, right?
Yeah.
And so, well, good. And I agree with you. And then you're blessed because life reflects back on you what you are. Whatever you're putting out is what you're getting back. So if things aren't working out for you, it's because you're probably not putting out the right thing.
Exactly. Taking care of people was I think in both of our hearts, wanting to be the most important thing. And like you just mentioned, having a customer that has a water softener issue, like what many plumbing companies are trained to do. Plumbing companies don't know how to repair or service water treatment equipment. Most of them, they don't. They have no clue. But being able to be transparent, there are some systems that are repairable or rebuildable, or however you want to look at it. And then there are some that are not worth spending that type of money into. I always tell people the box store scenario. If you're into box store water softeners, they aren't designed. They are, I call them professional garbage cans, right? They are designed to last for a period of time. They're not designed for longevity or rebuildable, those types of things. So when you go in the garage or you get a call about a box store water softener, the conversation here, this is what we can do. If we start to work on or repair this, there's a really great chance that that system or those types of systems has a thing I call the jealousy theory. The very moment you fix what's wrong with it, the next month there's something else that's going to break or go wrong with it. And
there's something else in there is jealous and wants that
it
attention.
wants to be fixed. It wants to be new too. So you go down this rabbit hole trying to repair a $300 water softener that you're like, look, if you're just into the box store system, go get another one of those and we'll just install it. I can save you a whole lot of money and time if that's what you're into. So that's what's more really important. That's like, man, I'm not just trying to go and sell a new water softener, which would be great because we can make money. But the whole thing is letting the customer know that they have options. I would love to educate them about the different technologies and things that we'll talk about that I'm sure in the show, because the water treatment space has evolved. Like you talked about the older technology, there's definitely newer things happening and making the customer aware. I think that's where a lot of water treatment companies have fallen short and not educating themselves and making themselves abreast in the changes of what's happening in the industry and knowing the proper equipment to recommend to your customer, because we deal with a couple of different waters, dealing with what we call your municipal water and well water, right? Municipal water, for the most part, most water treatment companies we figured it out. We know the water sucks. We know the water is hard, and we know it has chemicals in it, right? And there's a solution for that.
Yeah, and a lot of times the pressure's too high when it comes to your house. And you need
so there are things
like,
that being able to educate and knowing what to look for, and so that the customer is prepared. Because, like I said, the traditional or the water that we deal with on municipal water and dealing with well water is a whole nother class. It's a whole nother conversation. So I can't, in most cases, put the same equipment that I put on somebody's well water versus somebody who has, city water, municipal water, or somebody who's paying a water bill. It can be a totally different conversation. So education, if anything, I want people to know about what we are. We are first a educational company, and we sell water treatment, by the way.
All right, perfect. And I have a question for Mark. Are you kind of a conspiracy theorist in the sense that there is such a thing as planned obsolescence, where equipment is being made to last a certain amount of time and it's engineered that way? Or do you think that...
Well, remember when refrigerators used to last forever? Right? They don't anymore. It's 5 years or whatever, 10 max, and you got to do that. So, yeah, I think that, parts wear out, and there's definitely an incentive for a company to be able to come out and service those things on a regular basis. So I like to spend on quality that's going to last, but there's so much here. I don't have a monthly service on my water softener. Had never heard of this sanitizing solution type situation before. I think there's a whole lot left there to talk about. But Ty, as we wrap up, because we only have a couple minutes, but I wanted to get your take on do you guys do monthly service? If you do, what does that look like for folks out there?
Typically, our service, we don't have a monthly thing per se, unless it's a special equipment that we do with commercial quality RO systems that require a little more attention. That we we do a lot of breweries or businesses that make their own beer, like Weathered Souls. You heard those guys.
Yes.
So we install their equipment to make their beer. Some of those may require a little more attention than your home that has a reverse osmosis. Typically, those filters, we address those annually, right? Because you have the water softener, carbon filter, all this other stuff protection ahead of that reverse osmosis system. So it doesn't need attention every month, but at least once a year, or 12 to 18 months is usually that window of when that would need to be addressed. So there isn't per se a monthly thing that we offer that we find that's needed. But every company is different. Like what Richard offers, that's a great for what it's used for. There's another version of that we use, and it's like how I use it at your house.
Yeah, I remember you poured something in there.
Right. So mine is more. they won't call it a disinfectant, but it's more designed to because you didn't have a. I think the reason I really wanted to pour it into your system was because I think you had let your system run out of salt. And what happens when your system starts to, if you're not keeping up with the salt requirement, what happens is over time, because when your house is plumbed with, you have a water softener. Every drop of water is coming into your water softener before it goes into your house. Salt is very important in the process, more so of cleaning than it is softening. So I tell people, think about salt as being soap. If salt isn't present when the water softener needs to go through a regeneration cycle, it can't clean itself. So because salt is not present, what happens is the water softener is still going to go through the process of trying to clean itself. But it's still that dirty water, for lack of a better term. Now it's starting to collect more because those resin beads we'll just call them magnets. They're constantly trying to attract that calcium and magnesium ion, right? And as it's continuing to getting coated over layers and layers of that calcium is the reason that stuff that I put in your system is to help to loosen the stuff up that has gathered on that resin bead to help it to clean itself in the regeneration process because it is layered because you didn't have salt in the system when it was ready for it to take a bath.
Right. Makes sense.
All right, cool. Covered a lot of ground for sure.
Really
Ty,
did.
if folks want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
You can, of course, always call my office. My office is area code 210-664-1111. And my personal cell, 210-379-6909. And we also have a website, sawatersofteners with an s.com. And you can follow me on, the Waterman Facebook. And I also have, they branded me Ty the Water Guy. I have a Instagram and I have a Facebook page. And of course the Waterman has those things too. But my people branded Ty the Water Guy because most people don't think about the Waterman, they think about Ty the Water Guy.
Thought of that. Yeah. And Mark is in that referral group that you, and I know you've come back out to visit, but yeah. So Ty was a member way back when.
Yeah, that's what he was saying earlier.
Yeah. It's awesome.
All right, as we wrap up the show, quick reminder, check out our latest podcast and catch video version of the show anytime by visiting our website at satalkradio.com. That's going to be it for us for this one. Great job, everybody. You guys have a great week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.